Okay, we're back. Hi, everybody. It's Matt. It's Jeremy. It's Will. Tyler is going to be here soon. We've come up with a workaround. There he is. We've come up with a workaround. We are going to have Mike on the phone. He is going to speak on my speakerphone, and he is going to then talk into the mic through my phone. And your questions, Tyler, Will, and Jeremy, are going to come through my headphones into my phone. So we've got it figured out. Thank you, everybody, for being patient and coming back. As a future tech support guy, I guess this is right up my alley. So I had no other choice but to do this. But so we left off with Mike. He was kind of talking about getting into the glory years of Pacific, as we might all think. 97, 98, 99, 2000. Those are some of our favorite years. And we'll just kind of go from there with questions. So Jeremy, I know we left off with your question. Did you want to start with that, and then we'll just go from there?
With the one about branching out? Okay. Yeah, just kind of what I don't even know how to phrase it really. What kind of got you started into branching out into the different sets, like Aurora, Revolution, Omega, and Paramount?
As far as making more brands?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And well, we had various ideas and markets out there, like stores that were looking for our product. And once you buy a slot in a Walmart where they're going to put your product, you have to keep it stocked. And that's one of the reasons why we were making more brands. And if their window for baseball was 4 months, and they sold out of your first product, they wanted another product on the shelf. So that's why we came up with new ideas and additional products.
So with sets like Revolution, Mike, I think that's a consensus favorite among all four of us. We all really like that set. If we look at that set and just how advanced it is with the technology, the printing technology that was used in the foil on there, was that a choice on like that you deliberately wanted to make a set that was very shiny and it stood out among all the rest of them? Like even the base cards are just some of the most incredible cards that you've seen from the 90s. Was that a deliberate decision when you were coming up with that set?
It was the idea that we wanted to make cards that would wow people, and when they got them, they would say, "Wow, look at this card." And we had the technology, and we had the ideas, and we had the wherewithal to be able to produce the cards. And so, the technology that was available at that time, we pushed it way beyond where it should have been. But we kept experimenting, and things like Revolution evolved out of other ideas, and we just kept trying to roll the ball ahead. And we felt like we were really producing beautiful stuff. And as I look back on those cards and look at the sets I have, I feel like they're incredible and stand out among all cards that are being made now.
I'll second that. I see Tyler and Will and Jeremy, they're all nodding. I think we all agree 100% with that for sure. Now, Jeremy, you got one for him?
Yeah. So I was at a local card shop today, just asking if they had any old Pacific boxes to buy, and was just kind of talking about their experience with the Pacific brand back in the 90s. And they always said it wasn't their top seller, but they loved all the product designs. They loved that kind of technology, the edge pushing or the envelope pushing edge that you were talking about. They said their only complaint was trying to get some of those cards into penny sleeves with all the weird.
Now Jeremy's having technical issues, but I think what he was going to go to, Mike, was the design of some of those cards. Like the giant postage stamp ones, the all the die cuts with the sharp edges. Was there any consideration for those being hard to put into penny sleeves, or was it one of those like, who cares, let's go for it?
I think we decided that if the card was in the pack, and if a person wanted to put it in the sleeve, they'd figure out how to do it carefully or gently, or they just collect the card and maybe it wouldn't matter. I'm not sure what the end result was. Once you open the pack, you have to decide what you're going to do with it. But some of those were die cut, incredibly sharp, and held up through packaging, and we figured a person could get those cards into a plastic sheet if they felt like it.
Gotcha. No, I'm trying to think of the name of that card, fellas, before we get to Will's question. It's silver. It was like 1 out of maybe 8 packs, 1 out of 12 packs, and it looked like a giant stamp.
Oh, like a special delivery, I think?
Special delivery, yeah.
Yes, I don't remember the name, but I can picture the card, and it was difficult. That one was difficult to produce, but again, we did it.
Gotcha. Okay, Will, you want to follow up on that?
Yeah. So all this talk about the different shapes and the crazy designs. What, as far as the brainstorming of this, is this like, I guess, what was the process of creating the set? I know you have a team of designers. Would they kind of brainstorm among each other and then bring you ideas and you would sign off on them? Or would you like wake up in the morning with an idea, go to them, kind of give them a rough cut of what your idea is and just kind of see what they turn out? What was y'all's creative process for coming up with new stuff?
Well, originally it was me creating everything, but we, about the 96, 97 in there, we actually had a team of people that would gather quite often, and we'd sit around and bounce ideas off each other. And we just had an incredibly creative group of guys, mainly all guys, and we would come up with, one idea after another. I often said, and in fact I said it in the room, that I wish we were a Hershey chocolate company. All you got to do is make one chocolate bar for 100 years, and we got to sit here and come up with a new idea every 10 or 15 days. We got to come up with something that's going to wow the card collector. And so our ideas just evolved, and the more we tried, the more we realized that we could probably do.
I got a question.
Tyler, go for it.
So everyone that you had employed for you, were they all collectors themselves? Is that what did they come up with designs that they wanted to see in packs that they opened themselves, or were they just designers that just wanted to make this stuff?
I would say to that, no. Almost none of them collected anything. I was probably, of the people that worked for Pacific Trading Cards, the only guy that actually collected the stuff. Most of them had no idea. It was just a job, and they liked designing the cards, and in our circle of ideas or creative people, they all liked them. Some of them collected a few here and there, but we didn't bring in collectors. We brought in, the engineers were engineers, the accounting people were accountants, and the graphic people were graphics people who learned to do cards and were basically taught. We had an incredible group of people that worked in our pre-press graphic department that to take our ideas and translate them into the whatever it takes to put it in and out of the computer to create a trading card. None of the people, in a sense, actually were collectors, except for myself.
That's pretty crazy.
I don't know, Will, if you're going to go to hear after this, but I mean, you talked about the design process. I mean, how long did that typically take, Mike? You know, when you come up with the idea for like 99 Revolution, you want to do an insert in there. How long would it take from, you know, the idea to the insert being designed in a graphic design program to it actually being printed? How long of a process are we looking at for that?
That usually took about 2 to 3 weeks from the time that we sent it downstairs to the time where they could actually have film printed and cards printing coming off the press, and then you had to cut them, and then it took another sometimes 3 to 4 weeks to get them collated and packaged, and so total time maybe 6 weeks turnaround on a project. If we had something we had to do right away, we could turn it around quick. That's why we were so successful, is we did everything ourselves, and if we had to do to get a product out right away, we could do it in a heartbeat. With all the people that we had in graphics and all the people that we employed in packaging and everything from that to shipping to you name it, to get it out the door, we could do it.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. Will, you got one?
Wow. The 3 weeks from start to finish just blew my mind a little bit. I would have thought it'd be like, okay, here's a rough draft. We're going to stare at this for a week. We're going to talk about what we hate about it. We're going to talk about what we like about it. And we're just going to pick this thing apart for 6 weeks. And then it's like, this goes to here for 6 weeks. I would have thought it was a lot longer process. I was wondering if there was a set that you designed that, well, I guess, what was your...
So therefore we knew, and because I was involved so heavily in it, it was, I liked it. We took the idea downstairs. I would go, downstairs was where graphic was, and I would go down when they brought a design up. They'd bring it up on the computer, and I would go down 5 times a day, and when they had things up on the screen, and I would tweak them, or we'd talk about them, and they changed whatever we wanted, and then the design was created, and then it was a matter of dropping in copy, and the copywriters was a different division. All the guys writing copy were busy writing copy, and pretty soon they'd send that, and it was all computerized, so it was sent down and dropped in, and we printed 110 cards on a sheet for almost everything, not everything, but in a matter of time you have everything built. And if a card set was 500 cards, it took you a little longer. If it was 140 or 180, that was a little bit less time, but we were pretty efficient.
Wow, that is so crazy. What was your personal favorite set that y'all made, and was there a set that maybe you didn't think was going to sell very well, but might have exceeded your expectations a little bit?
Of all the sets that we produced, I like Prism the best, because it was so new to the market and so original when we came out with it, and so successful too. It was hugely successful, and it stuck with me all the way through. Every time I saw them, I just went, we're just making these cards better every year, and the concept worked so well for us. And originally, it was so new to the market that we came up with an idea, and I actually came up with putting one card in the back, and it was like, even the salespeople said, we can't do that. Can't work, won't happen. I said, we will do it, and it will work. And sure enough, the stuff, the Prism brand sold out immediately in all sports across the board, in the baseball and the football.
And you talked a little bit with me earlier about the 2000 Prism set, and there's, if I'm correct, 16 different parallels, and how you said that a lot of collectors at first weren't really liking the idea of that set, right? Because there were so many different parallels.
It was driving collectors of sets nuts because I don't believe that they thought they could ever accumulate all those different parallels and do that. But at the time, we were developing new foils and new ways to produce these cards. And at the time, I think the company that manufactured the foil for us had come up with 16 different new ones that we could bring out. And I said, let's just do them all. Get them all. And we can take a piece of each of this set, and we can allocate so many pieces of or so many sheets of paper to each foil, and we'll do them all and put them all in the pack. And it was like, okay, let's do that. And that was a spur of the moment change that we did, where we added that. And I think it worked for us. It was successful and kind of fun, and I think still fun today for the people that are going after those things.
Everybody in the room is nodding yes. It is exciting when you're able to find one that you've been looking for a few years. Anybody?
I got one.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. I was wondering, so you mentioned the zillions of different foils. How does the paper company present those to you? Do they bring you like a poster of various photos with that foil? And when they left the room, were they like, damn, I wish we'd brought 32 different foil samples to sell these guys?
Actually, there was no pictures. There's a little swatch of foil, just an envelope full of swatches, and that's it. And then when we said we'll use them all, and keep making us new ones, they actually went back and started recreating. That's where we came up with the red ones and the green ones and the blues. Was the next time around they came up with those for us. And so every time they came up with a new batch of swatches of foil, we generally use them. And I've noticed just recently that some of the prism foils have been allocated names that I've seen on the internet where they come up with names for each one of those. And I'm not sure we knew the names for each one of those at the time because they were so new. So I was appreciative of whoever came up with all those names to put them on the internet so I could find out what my stuff was called.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Patrick, who came up with those. He's a big Frank Thomas collector, and he put a big guide for all of us. Now, I don't know if he came up with the names, but you and I, when we chatted, you said somebody built a visual of all those, and that's the one that I've used. I don't know about you guys, but he did a great job of breaking those all down. But I think that's the best thing, that you didn't have a name for all of them. You just used the different foils. That's awesome. Tyler, yeah. It's really interesting. Tyler, since we're on Prism, I have to ask, I think 5 people have asked me about 99 Prism, and then we'll get to your question.
Yeah.
Mike, in 99 Prism, you didn't do, 20 different foils or 16. You did, I believe, 4, if I'm correct, and the base card. There was a base, there was a blue, there was a premiere date, and there was also a red. And those are very highly coveted cards and player collectors, and very rarely do they show up on the open market. I know they were retail only released, but do you have any idea about how many of those reds were made and why they show up so infrequently to purchase?
I really don't have any idea because I can't remember. But I would think off the box, a person should be able to see what the ratio was for those reds per box or per case. I'm not sure what the ratio would have been.
Right.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
But
interesting.
I'm sure I probably have a sales sheet somewhere in my library that would tell what the ratios were.
Okay.
And I think the retail was red only, and a red foil, and not sure how many we made or any of that. No.
Right. Well, it definitely. A lot of people have been curious about those because they hardly ever show up for any of us ever. So, Tyler, you wanted to go next?
Yeah, I'm gonna read off Hockey Guy 2006's comment or question. I really like it. Was there ever an idea for an insert, like a die cut or any insert set, I guess, that you couldn't pull off due to production or technology limitations?
I'm sure there was, but I can't recall any. The only one that we almost killed was that ornament that we put in. I can't remember the product that was in, but it was like a Christmas ornament part, and it was really tricky because of it had a hanging string on it, and for packaging, it was a nightmare for the engineers to figure out how to make that thing get in the packs without getting all tangled up. But he ended up figuring out a way to do that. But I can't think of anything that we came up with that we couldn't actually manufacture. And if you look at all the cards we did, there's a lot of different things that we produced, such as those acetate windows with an actual photograph of a player on them. I mean, things like that were pushing the envelope way out there.
Yeah. Jeremy, did you have anything before? I know Will had something too. Did you have anything by any chance?
No.
Not yet? Okay. Will, go for it.
Yeah. So Mike, just then you were talking about like one of my personal favorites is 97 Prism, which had the acetate window in the corner. I don't know why I bought a zillion packs of that when I guess I would have been 11, but man, I've got a whole box full of those prisms in my closet. Why weren't other companies doing that? Why did y'all always seem to be the ones pushing the envelope and trying weird stuff? Was Tops and Upper Deck just like, we're making enough money, we're not really feeling the need to challenge ourselves or do anything risky? Or was it just because you being a collector, you kind of had more of a personal touch and like, you personally want to push the envelope of the hobby, whereas they're just, a bunch of, for lack of a better term, a bunch of empty suits just running a company?
Well, I think it was me wanting to push the envelope, but I also think that we were able to take advantages of these new ideas we came up with quicker, whereas we could turn a product around in 3 to 4 weeks. I think the other companies actually planned theirs out, maybe a year in advance. They had everything set what they were going to do, and they didn't vary from that. They had already figured out what they were going to do, and they couldn't change their plans because they didn't have anybody that was capable of doing that. I know most of the other companies used brand managers who ran, like the brand manager ran baseball, a different guy ran football, etc. And we didn't operate that way. We operated as one company trying to produce the best and most innovative cards that we could come up with.
I don't know. I think speaking for everybody here, when I think of innovation in Pacific, I think of the serial numbering on cards that are completely different, from everybody else. And I think everybody's very curious to know. One of the first questions that I got from people before we did this was, why were the serial numbers so different? And it's a pretty simple answer, right?
Why were they different?
For instance, like on the premiere dates, one set would have a premiere date out of 74, and then another one would be 34, and then another one might be 99. So, the premiere dates every year, no matter the set, were always different with their serial number.
Oh, yeah. And that came about because of the case runs. As the case run was needed more, if we had to make more cases, we had a higher ratio. If we had less cases, then the serial numbers would be less because we didn't need to put as many of those cards in the case, and that's why those range so much differently.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really felt like people needed to hear that because, we often have speculated that you guys were just having fun and just punching up a random number in the computer and said, all right, this looks good, premiere dates, boom, roll them out. But there was definitely more of an exact reason for that. Anybody?
Yeah, I've got a question I can run by. So, for me personally, over my shoulder, I've got a shelf full of Cramer's Choice cards, which are obviously named after you. You are the Cramer in Cramer's Choice. I was curious, what was your inspiration for the design, like the weird like triangular award shape of the card, and who determined which players were in the set?
Okay, that broke up a little bit, so I didn't get it all.
So he asked the inspiration behind designing Cramer's Choice. That was the first part, and the second part was who determined who was going to be in the set each year.
The inspiration for it was to make an award-looking card. One of the guys on the design team had come up with we got to do something because I was so involved in all the photography and the manufacturing. We got to come up with a way that I could find that I could pick players and award them, like my choice of players. And since I was a collector too, and that's how that came about. And it was shaped in the shape of an award. And then we came up with these holders to put them in, which made them really look like an award. And I have a bunch of the larger size holders with the cards in them in my collection, and very few of the small ones because the small holder was used as a premium, and you could order one off of the packs of cards. And we basically sold all those, and the big ones we mainly used at shows. But that became a fun thing for me, and I was involved in picking the players. I mean, I did pick the players, and I wrote the copy for the backs of those cards. Mainly because I was on the sidelines in an NFL game shooting the players and shooting the games at a baseball game. I did all that stuff on weekends. And hockey games, I shot those too. I kind of had a good feeling for which players I thought would make it. And in some of those sets, I was extremely surprised to find that I think out of 10 on one of them, 9 guys out of 10 were in the Hall of Fame on one of those sets. And that was kind of rewarding. I didn't check them all, but the one I thought, boy, did we hit everybody there.
There's somebody in here asking about a specific player that hasn't been in Cramer's Choice until 2001. Is that would you remember as to why a certain player might not have got in, or was it just a case of, these players in your mind were better at the time than that player? Like, he's asking about Barry Bonds and Bonds not being in Cramer's Choice until 2001 obviously there were other players that you thought might have been a little more deserving, or was there anything else behind that?
There were only 10 you could pick. That's how many we put in the set. And I felt other players were, it was my choice, and I had other players I wanted to pick.
We appreciate
those other times.
Fair enough.
We usually tried to pick an up-and-coming rookie, like I remember Alex Rodriguez. Okay, he came out and he was extremely hot, so we put him in, and then guys that were moving up really quick. Back then, Cal Ripken and some of these other guys were just basically at the mid or not at the end of their career, that's for sure. And they were pretty steady guys, and I always liked to pick in baseball guys that could hit and ones that could field the ball too. And I don't think I had too many DHs in those sets because I was partial to all around good players and trying to pick players from other positions besides all. You could pick all outfielders in the set, but I tried to pick a pitcher and a catcher and tried to move it around a little bit.
Awesome.
And in fact, on my wall, I have a set of them from '97, and it covers every position.
I never realized
I
that.
was
That's
lucky
awesome.
I was lucky enough to get a picture of that, so I will definitely share that with everybody, and I'll send that to Will so he can share it in the Facebook group. I think everybody would like to see that, especially because they're in their positions on the frame. It's just so
cool.
Will?
And
go ahead.
What's cool about it is there's a left-handed and a right-handed pitcher.
Man, really covering everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Will, go for it.
I was wondering, and I think I know the answer to this now that we've kind of fleshed out the Cramer's choice. When we were talking about this interview coming up, I had some people message me wanting to know why they were made from regular cards to jumbos in the later years. Is that just because it just made it look like even more of an award having a bigger card?
Yeah, we made a couple of products like Gridiron and Cramer, and we used them as a premium in those boxes. I think it became a one card in a box or whatever it was. I know at one point it was one card in a box, and I liked them because they were bigger and they showed them better, and we got the idea to make that holder, and then it really showed, and we were the ones that were seeing it right away in the holder, and I liked it a whole lot, and that's how those big ones came about. Is that they were to be used as a premium in that box.
That's right. I believe it was one per box. My last question about Cramer's choice, and I think we all have followed, serial numbering and non-serial numbering. One year, I believe it's 99, if I have it correct. In 99, the Cramer's choice were numbered out of 299, and I theorized that every year they might have been the same. There was 299 of them made. Was there a reason that you decided to serial number them one year and then the rest of the years you didn't? Any chance you remember that?
I actually don't remember it.
Okay.
Was it baseball or football?
It was baseball in 99, correct, fellas?
Baseball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Baseball, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure why we serial numbered just that one year. And there was probably a parallel to them.
Not in that one.
No, not that year. There in '98.
Not that year.
Yeah,
Okay.
'98. You did all the parallels with all the different colors, and I remember I joked with you that A-Rod's not in there. I was bummed about that. Me and Jeremy are definitely bummed. But okay, cool. Tyler, Jeremy, real quick. You neither of you just listening? Okay, good. Will, go for it.
So 99 did have a quote unquote parallel. I saw somebody in the comments mention it, and I've got one in the cabinet back here. Is the salesman samples that have like the star punched in them? How many of those are floating around? Because I know a lot of people, I'll post a picture of it and somebody will go, yeah, it's the same star punch that my local coffee shop uses for their rewards cards. How do I know you didn't just order a punch off Amazon and punch that thing? What were salesmen carrying around? How big was y'all's sales team? Did they have like a giant notebook with one of every card from
that were punched? And I remember there were some cards that our salesmen were leaving at some of the if you went to Walmart for a sales call, you left some samples, and et cetera. And I'm pretty sure when we mailed out to the hobby wholesalers, we sent some sample cards in them, and we didn't want the the cards getting out there early in the market, so we punched them, figuring they were, basically useless. And there isn't a lot because there wasn't that many different outlets where we sent that to. But I have no idea how many. There was probably 10 hobby wholesalers, and then if you take all the retail sales calls into account, can't be more than 100 or so that we would have done that way. But I don't recall exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's something. Those started showing up, Mike. Those started showing up on eBay right around the National 2 years ago. There was a few Dynagon titanium parallels that showed up, and they had the stars punched in there. And we have speculated a lot about the legitimacy of those. And then nowadays, there's a bunch on eBay. So I think it's good for people to hear that those are legitimate, and somebody didn't just take a beautiful Cramer's Choice insert and stamp a star right through it. That would be a shame.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how that many could show up on eBay because, if they're in salesmen's hands and if you send them out and you leave them with somebody, there can't be that many of them show back up. So I don't know how legit that stuff is that's getting punched.
Right.
But it could be good. The card's real. I don't know why you'd punch a hole in it if you didn't need to. So not sure about that.
Yeah, I think we kind of lean towards them being legitimate, but it's nice to kind of get confirmation from the person who is behind making them all. Does anybody have any other questions regarding? Yeah, Jeremy, go for it.
Well, just kind of in the realm of pushing the envelope, I was reviewing some of the questions, and someone had asked about the vinyl parallels that you've done, like the Wild vinyl or the Prism vinyl from 2000. They asked why the back was blank. Was that just something in the printing process that you could only do one side, or was that intentional or non-intentional, I guess?
It was intentional, and the reason is those were produced in our graphic department. We made them downstairs and printed them. And the reason they were blank is the paper that we printed on and the machine that was printed on couldn't be printed on the reverse side. And we felt that it wasn't necessary and it made it different.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool to hear. I told you when we spoke that the Wild vinyl is like a dream card for all of us, I would say. And so
they're very rare, right?
Oh yeah, they're out of 10, and there was actually many years ago there was somebody at a card show that found a Cal Ripken in a dollar box. I think because people didn't quite understand back. What was it? Maybe 10 years ago. Will that guy found that one? It was a while back. People weren't really keen on everything that you guys were doing with cards, and now that we're all super keened in on it. All we want is to have one in our collection because they're such unique cards. So, yeah, we really appreciate those, especially. But I was going to say, does anybody have any other questions regarding some sets? Because I thought it would be really neat for Mike to spend a few minutes and kind of talk about, as Pacific rolled down to just hockey, and then what it ended up causing Pacific and Mike to say, okay, we've done everything we want. Does anybody have any other set related questions right now?
I'd like to just hear more about how when Pacific first started, it was the he mentioned it a little bit, the bilingual in 93 when they started that. And I was just kind of curious how that came to be, then how it transitioned into, I think even 98, 99 might have had some bilingual backs. Just kind of curious how those transitioned.
Did you get that, Mike?
I got most of it, but not all of it.
So he was just asking about some background on why the bilingual card started up and how that kind of continued on for a while.
Well, we were wanting to get a baseball license, And the opportunity that was available was if we could open up a bilingual market out there. And in '93, we came up with that idea to do that, and went to the Baseball Players Association and presented it, and told them we'd do it, and they gave us a license to do that, and that was our introduction and foot in the door to pursue getting a full license too. But it allowed us to make baseball cards like I wanted to, and they were bilingual, and we did open up a pretty good sized market and had pretty good sized distribution here and there. In Mexico even we had distribution, and that evolved into our license, full license that we got in 1998.
And I think we've been curious about this too, as far as the licensing. I mean, was that a pretty elongated process of getting the license? I mean, did they typically, each of the sports, NFL, MLB, and NHL, were they doing like 2 or 3 year agreements, or was it on a year-to-year basis typically?
Most of them were 3-year deals.
Okay.
I think baseball was. Football was, yes. They were all 3-year deals.
Okay. And it's so interesting now because now you got one company making cards for each sport, and it's it's a bit different now. I'm wondering if the licensing is just much more difficult to square away nowadays than it was back then, because there was you plus 3 or 4 other companies at the time making cards. So kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah. So shall we move on? I really am interested to hear just kind of, baseball. You guys were done making baseball cards in 2001 at the beginning of the year before Ichiro, got a chance to come on the scene. So there's no Pacific Ichiro cards. You guys were kind of left with hockey at that point. That was the only sport you were making. Do you look back fondly on those, only hockey years from 2001 to 2004?
Yeah, we had downscaled quite a bit, and we're just making hockey, and still enjoyed doing it, and came up with new ideas in hockey, and had the same feeling going on in the production plant. We just weren't as busy. When we were doing baseball, football, and hockey all at once, it was a roaring machine. That whole plant was screaming, and sometimes 24 hours a day for months on end. And I was a workaholic, and I probably put in 18 hours a day most of those days, and it gave me a chance to step back and realize there's more to life than just working.
Right. Wow. That's really interesting. I mean, you talked a lot about too when we had the chance to talk about, with as far as hockey was the easiest to work with, right? When it came to getting game used materials and things like that, correct?
It was. We were able to get game used from them pretty easily. Just cost money is all.
Gotcha. Yeah, go for it, Will.
So speaking of game used, what is the process for obtaining game used things? Because for me, I'm a Cal Ripken collector. He retired in 2001. That was like, I think first set was like 98, 99, where somebody threw a piece of jersey on a card. And, the back of the card, the legalese would say, this is a major league jersey worn by Cal Ripken on this date in this game. Some even have a picture of the jersey on the back that it came from. But now, as the hobby has progressed to where now, if you look on the back of a 2021 card, it'll just say this material on the front of the card is 100% polyester, machine wash on delicate, cold water, tumble dry. Like there's absolutely nothing. They just went to Walmart and bought a jersey and cut it up. So when y'all were actually putting real jerseys in product, how would you even go about getting these jerseys from, hundreds of players probably? And, if you have one jersey, how many sets can you make out of that? How many cards are you getting out of a jersey?
We got them. We got them from players, player agents, and we made sure they were real and good and game worn jerseys. And real game worn jerseys cost a lot of money and came with a certificate from somebody who was legit. And the reason we could make so many game used cards is you get a lot of pieces out of those cards or out of those jerseys. And we cut the jersey up in our place. We had our own. The machine was called the high die, and we actually cut them up in a room in our plant, and we could tell immediately how many pieces we were going to get out of the jersey. Some of them we cut really small. Some of them we cut a little bit bigger. But for example, a hockey jersey yielded literally thousands of pieces out of a hockey jersey. It was so big. Football jerseys, same thing. They were gigantic, and you could get a lot out of them. The nice thing about a baseball jersey was it had a lot of logo on it or patch parts that we could utilize. And hockey also had a lot of patch parts that we could get out of it. And so it was just a big process, but we ended up with being able to be pretty efficient at doing that.
That's fascinating.
Awesome. Yeah, and we, you showed me a few examples that you had too, and I don't know if I'm speaking for everyone here, but when I first got back into collecting, I would see some of those patches on those, Pacific A-Rod Invincible patches, and they're just like right in the heart of the Mariner logo. And at the time, people had gotten pretty good at putting fake patches in there, so it's really nice to hear that, all those patches that you grabbed were 100% legit, and so that definitely makes me feel good about all the ones that I own. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, pretty sweet.
I just saw one of them that was a card with Tony Gwynn, piece of Tony Gwynn uniform, and you could see the tobacco stain on it, on the patch. And so there was a lot of that. In football, they smelled like, I don't know what they call it now, but I call it Cramer adhesive is what we called it when I played sports. And they were, they had great grass stains on them, and some of them we had to end up cleaning because they were too dirty. But I think they pulled them right out of the locker room.
That's so awesome.
That's awesome. Truly game used. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we all are excited to hear this too, because I think this adds more excitement maybe for Pacific game used, because I know some of them don't get as much love as I think they should, especially some of them are bigger pieces. And again, there's some laundry tag ones out there. I mean, there's a lot of really unique patch cards out there that I think hearing this from you is hopefully going to generate a little more interest and love for those cards. But that's great. That's really, really neat. And I think one of the bigger questions people have, Mike, is when you guys shut down in 2004 at the beginning of the hockey season, what was the reason for that, and how did you come to that decision?
Well, at that stage, we saw the potential for the hockey lockout, and we had an actual visit from our licensor in the hockey, and he came out and saw us and said it was going to be a long strike or a long lockout, whatever they wanted to call it. And at that stage, I made the decision that I was probably done with the business, and I didn't want to hibernate for a year, which we thought about. But then I came about the idea that I don't want to have my people disperse and try to put the team back together. And I said, well, I've had a lot of fun in this business, and I sold the brands to Playoff, who then sold them to Panini, who still uses them. And I also owned the building that Pacific was. It was a manufacturing plant, and I sold it. And I made the decision to walk away from the business, close the doors. Pacific did not go bankrupt, which some people out there say that. We didn't go bankrupt. We didn't owe a nickel to anybody. We could have kept going, but at that stage I said I'm done. And I had worked 40 years in that business, and decided I was going to go try something different, and then maybe I could enjoy my life a little bit better. Although I had the greatest time of my life producing cards, it was a dream job. No, don't get me wrong. But at some stage, you got to pull up strings and move on if that's necessary.
I've got a question for you. So once you guys closed the doors on Pacific, did Upper Deck or Tops or anybody like that try and poach you? I mean, you're just this idea man, just full of incredible, envelope pushing cards. Surely they would have wanted a piece of that.
I had some offers, but I didn't want to go to work for somebody else. When you get to pull your own chain every day, and you don't have anybody holding you back, and nobody telling you basically what you have to do, and you can be creative, then I couldn't see myself working for anybody else. There were some offers, but at that stage I decided that I was going to go enjoy myself doing something different. So I retired.
And just to follow up with that too, and Will, if I steal your thunder here, my bad, but I definitely wanted to ask about this, and so does the dog outside. Were you often contacted, Mike, after Pacific closed down, years later? Did you have many people reaching out just to kind of see how you were doing or anything like that? Or were people pretty good about just kind of leaving you be so you could play golf and enjoy life?
I was still in contact with a few people in the business. A lot of the people that worked for me were still in contract, and either for email, every 3 or 4 days we get an email for each other. A couple of them we go to lunch a lot, and some of them have come and visited me. As far as other people in the business, some friends on Facebook, things like that, and I haven't been to like a national or any of that since I left. Every once in a while, a person will call me and update me on something that's going on out there. But pretty much, I basically left it and didn't really pay attention for about until this year, when I heard the business is looking good again, and some talk about things. I thought, oh, what's going on out there? And so I looked into it and heard that it was still going and doing well.
Mike, when you did retire, how old were you in 2004 when y'all closed up? And then did you end up starting any other businesses afterwards, or was it strictly just hitting the links and traveling?
I didn't get the first part of that. I did get the second.
The first part was how old was he when he how old were you when you decided that you were going to close up shop?
I think 51.
Okay.
And the second part is I did start another little company. I actually have an internet site where you can buy the figures that I paint. You can buy some of those, and people do buy them, and they're like a model kit, and they paint them themselves. And the only reason I do that is because I design them and cast them out of what they call resin, and produce a few extras of the ones that I paint, and other people like all over the world buy them. We have sales in every country in the world. But it's a miniature figure, and it's a miniature business, and it's just for me to have fun in it. I don't do it for making money.
Man, that sounds perfect. Sign me up.
I'm just curious too, now that you're looking at how your cards are doing and how popular they are, I mean, how do you feel about that when you go on eBay and you see how popular, the Tom Brady rookies you made and all the Cramer's Choice, and because you didn't look at them for so long. I mean, do you look back fondly on all these cards that you made, and are you interested to see how they're doing?
It pretty well blew me away when I first saw that some like Tom Brady card was. I saw numbers, mind-boggling numbers, that rookie card was sold for. Looking back on it, it gives me a lot of pleasure, and I'm glad people still enjoy these cards. And I hadn't looked at my sets of cards in binders that I have in forever, and I started looking through them, and I was like, wow, look at the stuff we made. This stuff's absolutely fantastic. I was in love with it then, and I still am. I was thinking I was going to sell it, and I still haven't done anything about that. It's still sitting on my shelves because as the collector at heart, doesn't want to part.
Yeah, I can't blame you one bit there. I think we all can understand that feeling for sure. But I don't know. I think all the guys agree while you were saying that. I think it's good for us to know that you are looking back on your work and your company's work, and that you still love your work. And I can tell you that there's a lot of collectors that collect 90s baseball. That's in hockey. I'm aware of that a little bit. And they just love talking about the cards and talking about the parallels and the inserts and the uniqueness of it all. I think there's nobody doing anything like it now. And we still, I think we're going to be chasing and loving these cards for a really long time to come. I think Tyler's got a question for you here.
Yeah, so back in the heyday when the shop was running 24 hours a day and all that, what was your wife doing and your kids? Like, what did they think that this was absolutely crazy and they couldn't believe how this happened, or did they fully support it? And were they just interested in what was going on?
It was just my job. I have 4 kids. My wife basically raised them. That was her job, and I worked. And my boys, when they were 8 or 9, would come down, and it wasn't called rollerblading, but something. But they'd rollerblade through the warehouse, and they had no idea what we were doing. It was just, to them, it was just Dad's work. And now, once they're grown up and they have their own kids, they look back on it and they're kind of happy that they got to see the place where I worked and the factory and all that, and I think they have fond memories of it for sure.
Kind of a follow up to that. When they were rollerblading through the shop, did they ever see any of the swatches like that was used for any of the prism variations? Did they ever see that and stop dead in their tracks? Be like, oh, that's shiny.
Yeah, I don't think so. But they saw the cards, in sheet form and then cut form, and all liked them. I have one son who has interest in cards. My youngest son. My oldest son's daughter is only about 7, but she's got a little stack of cards. And then I've got a grandson who's 13 who's a heavy football collector. And I give him some every once in a while, and he's got the fanciest stuff in the neighborhood. And all the kids want to trade their Russell Wilson for his stuff.
That's funny. That is so cool. That's so cool.
What an ace up your sleeve as a kid.
Yeah, they don't realize how lucky they are. But yeah, that's so neat. I mean, I think it's great to hear of all these stories and some of the things that I think we've all been wondering about for a while. There is I think we should ask it because he and I spoke about it, and I know a lot of people are curious about a particular card out there. From baseball. I just wanted to get this one answered because I've seen a few people ask about it. But back in 2000, there was a card you and I spoke about that created some quote unquote controversy, and you were pretty much open about that, right? You knew what happened, and that was fine, and you just kind of moved on. Do you know what card I'm speaking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has cork on it.
Yeah, that's right.
That Manny Ramirez cork bat card. Yeah.
We all want one, by the way. We would love to own one. We look all the time. We can't find it. So what exactly was the deal on that? Because I know this is a myth how this whole thing came to be. So I just want to put the facts on this card so we can be done with it.
Yeah. Well, we had bought a couple of Manny Ramirez bats, game-used bats, that came from a certificate, with a certificate from a reputable place. Anyway, we got the bats and we took the first one and we cut it up and made wood swatches for a wood swatch card, and they went through the manufacturing process, and got on cards, and then they got packaged out, and all of a sudden we find out one of them's got cork on it, and then we found out it was probably a total of 6 that have cork on them. So Manny Rivera had used a cork bat in the game, and we ended up with it on our card. It caused a lot of controversy because, according to what they say, he's not supposed to be using a cork bat in a baseball game. But obviously, after 20-something years, people realized they probably did, and among other things, and that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame. But we took a lot of heat for it, and at that stage, the card was out in the market, the one that got the publicity, and there's probably a couple others that got out there, and there wasn't anything we could do about it. So it was just what happened.
Right. Well, I just thought it was you had brought it up when we spoke earlier without me bringing it up because I was careful not to try to piss somebody off that I was trying to interview, but it was really neat to hear that too, just because there's been a lot of speculation about how it happened and was it deliberate and all this other stuff. So good. I wanted to make sure to get that information out to everybody. And your son, by the way, commented on this. He goes, he used to stick me in a box and roll me down the belts with cards. That was pretty good to see that he commented on the YouTube channel. So yeah, that was great.
My son's out there listening, is he?
He is, yeah, he sure is.
Good for him. Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have been on for about an hour and a half, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. We would love to have you back, first of all. Secondly, are there any other burning questions from Will, Tyler, Jeremy, or our viewers before we call it good on this first interview with Mike? Will, do you have one?
I just want to know, are there any other myths or anything like that regarding Pacific that you might have heard or that might be floating around that you'd like to put to bed?
Didn't quite get that. It was kind of broken.
Okay. He asked, are there any other myths? Is that correct, Will? Are there any other myths or gossip out there about Pacific that you'd like to put the kibosh on for everybody? Say that's not how it happened. Anything like that?
The only thing that I see out there that I know is totally not true is when people say Pacific went bankrupt. We did not go bankrupt. And I don't know of anything else that is like a controversy. There was some controversy about our game-worn jerseys, but I can sit right here and in the face of God, and he and I both know those came right out of the locker rooms. and from a real high source in the NFL, and there absolutely is. I smelled them, I touched them, I cut them up, and I know for a fact they were real. Other than that, I don't know of any others, unless somebody knows the one that is a controversy about us. You know, we cut up a few jerseys that made people mad. We cut up a Cal Ripken jersey that people said, you know, he's a Hall of Famer, you shouldn't be cutting his jersey up. But that's just what we did. You know, those became, we aggravated some people doing that, but we didn't cut up Babe Ruth's jersey, so I guess we're at least one step below that guy.
That's true.
That was what I was going to say. Yeah.
All right, Tyler, go ahead.
I got to follow up about the jerseys and stuff. As a Mark McGuire collector, I I know that I've heard stories from other companies. I think Upper Deck was one of them. When he found out that his back got cut up and put onto a card, he was furious. Did you deal with him much at all? I know he wasn't really in too many memorabilia sets.
Yeah, some of the players you just couldn't get their stuff. You couldn't get their jersey. You couldn't get their bats. And I don't know that we did a Mark McGuire. Off the top of my head, we may have, but there were some that you know they just weren't out there available for us, so we couldn't get it. Mainly in baseball, in hockey and football, it was just a matter of money. We could get them if we wanted to pay the price. And in baseball, some of them just weren't out there.
To follow up on that too, made me curious what Tyler asked. Could a player necessarily tell you, Mike, like you have a lot of Alex Rodriguez stuff, which is great, but let's use Alex for an example. Could Alex say, I don't want any more of my jerseys and baseball cards, and that would be it? You'd never get another one? Was it up to him, or was there more people involved in the player?
I don't think Alex Rodriguez cared one way or the other what you put on your cards. I don't think that was on his mind. You know, if we got a directive from the Players Association that Alex Rodriguez didn't want any more cards with his jersey or something, or his bat or anything, then we wouldn't have done them. Okay. That's for sure, because we would have been told not to. But we never saw or heard anything like that from any of the players.
Gotcha. Jeremy, did you have anything else you'd like to ask him? Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I know a few collectors particularly have always been kind of had the burning question about the 98 Cramer's Choices. They say it was kind of like a stealth insert with the parallels, the different colors. Was there any thought behind that as to why it wasn't announced, or was it just kind of an oversight and they just got packed out without thinking to tell everyone about them?
It was a Cramer choice that was put in there, and it wasn't announced on the box. Yeah. Or in the sales sheet.
Yeah, so I don't know if you have a sales sheet from in '98. Was it Crown Royale that they put those in '98, fellas, or was it just Pacific?
Invincible.
Okay, so
it was Crown Royale.
Yeah, 98 Invincible was the year they were in there. And so basically, yeah, Jeremy's saying the color variations that are numbered weren't announced at the time of the release. So were you trying to be, you know, like have some fun and put something in there that people would discover on their own? Or was it just something that you did last minute maybe?
I think it was the last minute, and we came up with the idea, and like I say, we were producing everything in house, so we could change a product if we thought we could add something to it at the last minute. And I think those came up at the last minute. We said, let's do this, and nothing better than to throw out into a product something that people can't figure out, because then they start talking and asking about it.
That's
and
right.
We had some of that in mind to. Let the collector, try to figure out what we're doing now. Some people drove nuts. Some people went after it, and so it was part of the fun of being able to make your own cards.
I love it. It gets people talking about you.
Right. And what Will's saying is, yeah, people talk about it. I mean, we four have joked, like, A, owning a card shop, but B, if we had our own card company, we would definitely do stuff like that. I mean, because as collectors, we love those type of stealth releases and giving us something to figure out, just like with 2000 Prism. I think that's why it's so popular. And it's kind of apparent after hearing you say these things that you were a collector at heart making cards, because that's what a collector would do, not somebody that's just trying to, make the dollar signs get bigger. Jeremy, did you have a follow-up to that Kramer's Choice question?
So kind of as a follow-up, if you decided late in the process to add something like that, how did that change, inserting those into packs or producing more? Did you have to produce more of the base set to kind of even things out a bit, or was it just kind of, nope, produce these new ones, threw them in there, and that's just the way it was?
I'm not sure if it changed our ratios or anything, because they weren't announced. They were just in the product as an add-on, and so we just made them and got them packed in the pack.
Awesome. I like it. Simple. Tyler, you had something? One last thing, or no? Okay. Well, I mean, from all of us, Mike, we first of all, and all the collectors that are watching, all the collectors that are going to watch this, and we all want to say thank you for taking the time today to answer some of these burning questions and give us a chance to hear from somebody whose products we admire and love to collect. So, thank you so much for taking the time to do that. We would love to have the opportunity to have you back after we've chatted and got some other questions from collectors after this, if you'd be up for it in the future. But most importantly, thank you for taking the time to do that.
Sure, I appreciate it, and I'm glad people still enjoy those brands we make. I know they're still being made, some of them by Panini, and that's one of the thrills of my life is our brands lived on. And sure, you can have me back. I enjoyed it.
Wonderful.
I'll have to figure out that video thing, but I'm not a video guy, so you did figure out how to do it.
I'll just have to fly back down there and get it figured out for you. So, but we'll definitely chat again soon. And again, thanks for spreading the word. It was great to have some of your former employees and family members into the chat, watching and listening. And I'll get a hold of you here and real soon. Thanks again, Mike.
Okay, and thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. So I figured we'd do maybe 5 to 10 minutes and just kind of reflect on everything that we just got to hear and experience, and that was quite a lot to take in. Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to get that working. Again, sorry to everybody for the way that we had to make that work without him being on camera. We'll get it to work next time. I can guarantee that.
Like Pacific, we're flying by the seat of our pants over here. We're last minute.
Change things last minute.
Packs.
It was a very Pacific interview, wasn't it? For sure. So I really, I don't even know where to start. First of all, the questions that I think our Baseball Cardpedia writers will be able to take and put into the website are there. The Manny Ramirez bat card, that's off the list, done. The fake game used jersey claim that people made with football cards, that's done. It came from the horse's mouth. I don't think it can get any more concrete than that. But any thoughts from you guys? Like, what's going through your head right now?
Man, I loved it. I think at the end he touched on something that I thought was really good, where he still likes that Pacific sort of lives on through Panini. And I was going to say something earlier. I forget what set we were talking about. Oh, he was talking about going through and flipping through his notebooks and stuff at his house and just going, man, we made some really cool stuff. And it's like, you did, dude. And it still holds up. We're 20, 25 years out, and it's still like, you could throw that in a modern product today with, and Topps is doing that right now. They're re-releasing all their stuff. Like, man, if you re-released, 97 Pacific Prisms or 99 or 2000 Prisms right now with Ronald Acuna and Juan Soto and all that craziness, oh my gosh, that would be a license to print money.
Get all the Cramer's Choice of them.
Oh my god, dude, the Cramer's Choice.
Imagine what a Mike Trout Cramer's Choice would go for.
No kidding. That'd be insane. Yeah, trying to put that parallel run together.
Jeremy, what about you, man? I mean, you and I have both been A-Rod collectors like in Pacific. I mean, did you hear some things that were pretty exciting on your end?
Yeah, just all of it in general was kind of interesting how, he created his own or like repurposed machines to do what he wanted to do, and then found a way to kind of just make his designs work, just in that kind of thing. And then, if he had the random idea to throw a bunch of parallels of a Cramer's Choice in late, get them done, throw them in there, and so cool. Let it go. I mean,
who cares what people think?
I know. I mean, that's
I love that.
Kind of like he said about how his company would do stuff like that, and then he talked about the other companies having to sit there and they probably planned things out years in advance, and then they couldn't change anything even if they wanted to. A hot rookie was coming up. They might have had the set, already ready to go, and if he felt like it, he probably would have just been like, "Well, here's a new card, rookie card, throw it in there."
Yeah, that blew my mind. The just last minute, like just flippantly doing things that would turn into legendary cards by the end of it was just like, wow, you just like last minute thought, let's make some parallels of this. Let's throw some serial numbers on this. Like, 3 weeks start to finish. Like their whole process was just like a snap to do everything. It's awesome.
The premiere date too was pretty interesting. How it's all based on like case count. That seemed like a pretty interesting side note, I guess.
Right. One thing I didn't want to get to it because it was just going to be question and like a 5-word answer, but when I did speak with Mike, and I mentioned this to I think all you guys I've talked to, how the Blues are sometimes numbered out of 67, sometimes they're not, but they're all the same odds no matter what product they're coming from. He told me face to face, all of them are out of 67. So, Rodney, when you watch this, go to Baseball Cardpedia and put in print run of 67 on every platinum blue. All the hockey guys already knew it was true, but for some reason, I think with us baseball guys, we were like set on if it doesn't come from the horse's mouth, there's no way I'm putting this as a fact. 1 out of 5 million packs. But anyway, I did want to mention that because we've all kind of thought that, right? We've all said, the pack odds are the same. That one's numbered, that one's not, and then that one is. They've got to be at 67.
On my Excel sheet where I have all the McGuire cards from every year and everything, every Pacific set, every platinum blue that's not either stated, print run or whatever, I put, instead of pack odds, I just put out of 67.
There you go, man. That's awesome.
And now you've been validated.
Yeah,
I did buy one while we were talking, so. Just to make sure.
I am kind of curious, out of the 20-something people that have been here, how many people are going to be like, I've been waiting to get that game used card of my favorite player, and I was curious if it was legit. It's legit, so go grab it. Show Mike some love.
I think one of my favorite things that he said was how he was working like 18 hours a day when things were really booming. Like that, I can see myself doing that if I was in his position. Like just being there all day, not wanting to leave, wanting to see all these designs.
Yep.
That would be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I had the lucky pleasure. I mean, y'all should have been there, but of looking at his proofs, his binders that he mentioned in the interview, he has every single set that was ever made. And he has all of them minus the wild vinyls. Don't worry, I looked for those right away. He has almost everything that was ever made by his company. He's got a copy of everything. And just to hear him talk about how he goes back 20 years, like he said, and looks at it and goes, man, those are sweet. And so when I was pulling cards out, he's like, oh, you're right. Those titanium from 2000, 2001 hockey, those are incredible. I'm like, yeah, those are pretty sweet. Like, it was just, it was great to hear that he looks back on this fondly, rather than like, oh yeah, whatever. That I just, spent way too much of my energy doing this.
Yeah.
Like he really
Yeah, and
loved it.
he went out on his own.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
he
I
said,
love to hear
we did not go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like just knowing that you, I mean, it kind of there were some things leading up to going out, but he made the final decision that he was done.
Yep. Right. That's something. It was amazing. Talking to Alan, who's been on here, he's like, so Matt, can you ask him why they went bankrupt? And at the time, he'd already told me he wasn't, and they didn't go bankrupt. And so I'm just really glad he got that out there, because I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like people look at that as a negative, like, oh yeah, this company really was kind of not that good. It's like, no, hold on, that's not the case. And hopefully this changes some of the opinion about the brand. It still doesn't get the love it deserves. I'll say it right now. I know it doesn't. Look at the 90s group. There's some people that loves the Cramer's Choice and stuff, but throw out an insert that was like 1 out of 73 packs that looks kind of cool, and people are like, $5. It's like, nah, hold on now, So, yeah, it was awesome. Hopefully everybody else enjoyed it, Everybody got something they wanted.
I want to know where his design team ended up, because they sure enough didn't end up at Tops.
Oh!
Shots fired.
Yeah, the shots are fired, man. Woo! I don't know about you, but it would be sweet if we could something like, hey Mike, can you get a hold of Panini and just do like a retro set every year and just throw in 3 or 4 of your favorite designs, have them do stamp of approval or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Those maybe do like the MLB icons with the flames and the cup, like just like do
Big
like 4 or
shields.
5. Yeah, and then Cramer's Choice obviously would be every year, and maybe Mike got the chance to pick them. Like that kind of stuff would be. That release, if Panini got the MLB license, that release would be off the hook, because they could do Revolution. They could do, come back and do some of those things. I mean, one can dream, can't they?
I'd buy it even unlicensed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Panini
Yeah.
still sells fairly well. I mean, man, it would be cool of them to, I don't want them to release Cramer's Choice without them actually being Cramer's Choices. I don't want it to be some Joe Schmo at Panini figuring this out. It'd be cool if they reached out to Mike.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, we're going to re-release this. Send us 10 players or 12 players, however many you want to do. That'd be awesome.
They have done, well, it's Panini's Choice Awards.
Like
I know,
Just
I think it was like
right?
2016, something like that. I know Dak Prescott has a rookie that's in that. I forget who else is in it, but you see him around. I think they did it for basketball too,
They did.
the same year.
It was like four cards per box, and there was 4 packs. So they did, like Mike said, the 1 card per pack. He mentioned that was that retail Prism? It must have been 99 retail Prism. No, that was 97 Prism was 1 card per pack. That was it. 97 Prism, right, Will? Because you said you have a lot of that.
Gosh, yeah, but I was 11. I do not remember.
I actually, now that my brain's working decently after I've taken all that in, there's a really nice dude on YouTube. He's a big Angels collector. He opened a box of it. It had Joey Cora on the box, so I asked him to save that box for me, and so I got to get a hold of him. But it was 1 card per pack, so it was just like there's another product that did that in the 90s, early 2000s. Anyway, yeah, it was 1 Prism card per pack, and there was 36 packs. So, I loved how he said it's like, people said they didn't want me to do that, but I was like, nah, let's do it anyway. That was great. But cool. Well, are there any final thoughts from you guys? Anybody watching? Gonna wrap this up and soak it all in for a little while.
I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight. I have all this stuff.
Yeah.
It did warm my heart a little bit to hear that, like, they all still contact each other. Like, the Pacific family sort of still exists on a personal level. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, which just shows that he went into this as a true collector, not just to make money.
Right, not just like a businessman. Yeah, and that's why they were so good.
Right. Jeremy, are you still kind of taking it all in? I mean, anything else that you heard that just kind of blew your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably already talked about the ones that blew my mind the most. It was a lot of fun hearing all that kind of stuff.
All right. Cool. Well, I don't know, fellas. I guess we ought to keep doing this podcasting together, huh? I mean, if we can get through getting through technical difficulties like that and still have a good show, I can't wait for anybody to watch part 1 of this. Holy smokes! I'm gonna have to go be like, go watch part 2 in the title, like, just so people know.
Dude, part one's the first thing that's been out on the internet of them in 20 years.
I know. I mean, we tried though. You know, I feel
Yeah.
like our problem solving came together there. So
The good news is on our end, I know you can't hear it, but on our end, his phone call was crystal clear.
It was perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the $30 microphone and my cell phone speakers it worked, and if we can't get him on camera, which I would love to do, just so he can show some stuff, that would be great. We'll obviously post part 2, please, to the Facebook group, not part 1.
I will.
We can have him tell that story again some other time. But cool. Well, we'll be back in a couple weeks. Awesome, by the way, that he's willing to do part 2. I think that's incredible that he was cool with that. So we'll have to pull up some questions from the community and see if we can get him on camera to show some examples and whatnot. But yeah, we'll come back in 2 weeks and
Less than a week from baseball season.
I know it's coming, guys. It's coming. We'll have to talk about that on the episode a little bit, but yeah, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Again, thanks for the support. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you then. Take care.